Good afternoon and welcome everybody. Delighted to have you join us this afternoon. I guess the very fact that we're doing this via a webinar is testament to the exact title of this conversation. And we produced a similar event, albeit pre-COVID, and it was very much about Brexit actually at the time, back in November in a format of a breakfast webinar. Now, due to the current constraints, this is online and, as I say, very apt for the title of this conversation. So delighted to have you all with us. My name's Andrew Walker. I am the Senior Account Manager, or one of, at Just IT, and also have a vested interest from a passionate point of view with regards to this program. So I'm delighted to be a part of this. The great piece around doing it online means that clients and colleagues and interested parties across the country can dial in, and we're absolutely delighted to have you all with us. So thank you for your time. We are going to walk through a journey around this topic. We have a fantastic panel, which I'll introduce shortly. And there will be a chance, as Sam, my colleague, has indicated, to ask questions. So please do put those in the chat feature. I hope you get out from this what you intended to. We'd love to engage with you after the event, and there'll be details as to how to do that later on. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lee Dempster, who's our commercial group officer, who's going to talk through a bit about us and the topic of debate. So over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Andrew, and good afternoon to everyone. For almost 20 years, Just IT have been focused on the development of people in the IT and digital workplace. As we've continued to expand, we have added new solutions to continue to support our focus, and we now deliver via apprenticeships, training and recruitment services to help us grow our customer skills for this digital age. We aim to lead in innovating, informing, educating and delivering the best apprenticeships, training and recruitment opportunities. So Sam, if you just go to the next slide. Excuse me. And we aim to do that through our service for our customers to enrich their lives. We do this because we absolutely believe that every person matters. Our passion is in inspiring and changing the lives of our learners, our career developers, employees and clients through the blending of people, skills and technology. Next one, please, Sam. We, of course, know the market's changing. Digital transformation, work practices, agility in developing new digital solutions, and the way we're all living our lives are all evolving because of COVID-19 at a rate that perhaps we've never seen before. Next one, please, Sam. We sent out a white paper recently, and we will follow it up. If you want to have it made available to you, we will do after this webinar, called COVID-19 Driving Digital Transformation, where we identified the need for skills in business analysts, data analytics and software development are key to linking ideas, people, technical growth and implementation. Getting it wrong or lacking engagement in digital transformation is costly in time, people engagement and financial outlay. We have seen an agility and speed in this area that could be argued is unparalleled in our working lifetimes. It can be very easy just to think about disruptor companies, and I'll highlight this in a few minutes. However, in more traditional domains, there has been a history of getting it wrong as much as getting it right. We've seen HMRC building and deploying the furlough website in 6 weeks, and we've seen how the NHS has developed an online booking system for tests, the NHS app, NHS logging, all of which is set up to deal with COVID-19, and it's been successfully executed and used, again using technology to great effect in the wider world. Both are great examples of showing technologies and digital skills creating solutions to very human and organic problems. We've seen that typically less prominent roles such as business analysts now have a huge impact by using technology to map solutions. London, as we know, is one of the most advanced technical infrastructures on the planet, and it already knows the benefit of technology. But it is the interconnectivity of technical advances beyond traditional IT teams that is now allowing the growth of innovation, analysis, and agile responses across business and services that allows them to be delivered successfully. We know we're facing challenges in terms of unemployment and recession, and the exact impact on the UK PLC is yet to be determined. Will it be a V? Will it be a tick? Will it be entrenched recession? It's all something that we're very keen to understand. And this impact will continue to change the market via adjustment, launches, or innovation to the new market conditions. Of course, we will have disruptors. If you think about how banking has changed, how we order our food, artificial intelligence, robotics, have all seen a massive growth since the financial crisis that started in 2007. We face ongoing challenges as lockdown continues. So organisations need to keep adapting how they operate in this unique situation. The challenge that a lot of organisations face is that they have the skills within their organisations to utilise these new technologies. According to the article published in the World Economic Forum last year, access to skilled workers is already a key factor that sets successful companies apart from those that are failing. Skills gaps across all industries are expected to grow, so hiring, training, development and retention will become ever increasingly vital. It estimates that more than half, or specifically 54%, of all employees will require significant reskilling by 2022. Get it right, and this report suggests that companies and organisations that are successful in workforce transformation can fully harness the new and emerging technologies to reach higher levels of efficiency and production. A perfect synergy of people, performance and productivity. So alongside traditional hiring process, can apprenticeships in new hires and workforce development play a vital role in a company's success?
Thank you, Lee. A fantastic article, and that was shared in the pre-invite piece. We will also follow up with the article following the event, so if you want to read it in more detail, please do. I'm delighted to say that we've got a fantastic panel today. Really honoured, privileged to have the wealth of expertise, insights, and I guess daily practice of living and doing this exact topic. So I'd just like to request that Christina, Lovelock, Nicola Patterson and Trevor Macalonan, if you'd like to just turn on and introduce yourself. We'll start with Christina. Hi Christina, welcome and thank you for joining us. Christina, could you just give us an overview and really what it is about this topic that's of interest to you, please?
Still quantified, and will we estimate that the offer is
Christina, I think you just need to unmute there, please.
That is a very good point. Thank you for that, Andrew.
Thank you.
I'm really passionate about entry-level roles of all kinds for business analysis. That includes apprenticeships, graduate schemes, and entry-level roles which allow people to do career changes. I think it's so important that business analysis as a profession has clear entry routes, and that's why I'm so passionate about the apprenticeship route into business analysis.
Fantastic, thank you, Christina. And you know, Christina comes with a wealth of accolades, and I think one that's really interesting is being chair of the National BA Apprenticeship Trailblazer group, and so we'll pick up on a discussion later, Christina, on that. So thank you for joining us. Nicola, would you like to introduce yourself? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicola Patterson. I'm from Hampshire County Council. I'm a senior IT business analyst, and I lead a team of business analysts at the council in IT. And I'd enrolled some of these guys onto the apprenticeship, and then as I was looking into it, I realised I wanted to go on it myself. Although I've been doing business analysis for a long time, I didn't have any of the formal training, the BCS training that comes along with the apprenticeship. And so I'm in the middle of it now, along with my colleagues in my team, and it's really great. Wanting to improve our team, improve the way we standardise, the way we do do business analysis, and really enjoying it so far, and it's really great for our team.
Fantastic, thank you. And Nicola and Tolu, who I'll introduce in a moment, have literally been training this morning, and we'll jump back into training this afternoon. So thank you for joining us on your lunch break. We're delighted to have you. Trevor, good afternoon and welcome. Would you like to
Good afternoon. Hello, Andrew, and thanks for having me along today here. Really delighted to be a part of this webinar. My name is Trevor Macalonan. I am an Apprenticeship Development Manager for Hampshire County Council. My interest is supporting corporate departments to develop skills of existing staff, but also to have programs that can attract new talents to the county council, but also to help them retain talent that they already have. And my particular interest here today is that I'm the one who linked Nikki with Andrew with Just IT. So I'm the kind of conduit between training providers and staff and teams to help set up apprenticeship programs.
Fantastic, thank you. And Tolu, would you just pop your camera on and introduce yourself? Thank you. Tolu's our principal trainer here and has a variety of interests. What interests you about this event today, Tolu?
Yes, thank you very much, Andrew. My name is Tolu, and I'm a trainer of business analysis. I've been doing business analysis for many years and balancing it with training. Worked with a consultancy for a number of years whilst delivering training and getting myself on business analysis projects and leading business analysis teams. And I'd always been passionate about training, so I'm really keen to see the profession of BA's business analysis grow, especially during this time. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic, thank you very much. If I can just ask you all just to pop yourselves cameras off and on mute, and I'm going to request that Sam launches a poll. We're obviously keen to hear. We've got a view, and we've shared that in that infomercial, but actually we're all experienced or interested in this topic, and be delighted to hear your feedback, really. And so Sam's just launching a poll now. Thank you, Sam.
I have done. Thanks, Andrew. So you should now have the ability to vote on the right-hand side of your screen that you'll see there. And the poll question is, over the next 12 months, which external factor will most impact on your organisation? So thank you. I can see those results coming through just now, and I will close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I'm closing the poll. So I'll share those results now on screen. So the majority of the audience at 59%, COVID-19 changing your work environment, short 26%, driving innovation, products and services, 13% availability of data the new gold, and 3% voted Brexit.
Thank you, Sam. And what a fascinating result. As I say, we did an event in November, and it was all around Brexit. And it's amazing how the world moves at pace. And naturally, that's very much been taken over by a very different external factor. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Richard Lambden, who's going to host the panel discussion. I will introduce you to one other colleague who's joining us from BCS later, and I'll introduce you to her shortly after the employer forum. So over to you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So if the panel would be kind enough to switch their cameras back on, that would be fantastic. What I'm going to do, we've got about 20 minutes, if that's okay, to have a round robin conversation. And perhaps we had on the screen behind us the PESTLE, if you want to put that back up, Sam, the PESTLE chart that was there. And we picked out some of the things. Christina, I'm going to come to you first just to kind of give you the heads up. I don't know if you were kind of surprised by that outcome. So 59% work environment, 26% driving innovation. What are your immediate thoughts around that? You're on mute, I think. Christina, you're on mute.
About changing our work environment, that's really a statement of fact, isn't it? And I think some organisations still don't know how it's going to impact them yet, how it's going to impact their markets, how it's going to impact them financially. So I think we all agree that it is going to impact how we work, but some organisations are perhaps a little bit further along figuring out what those impacts are going to be, and some is still trying to figure out how they might change in response to the situation.
Nicola, how some of the projects that your team are working on, it might be a little bit too soon to kind of ask this question, but have you already seen some impacts happening within Hampshire as a result of COVID?
I mean, there's a couple of things. Being a business analyst and working with departments in the council, there's sort of pros and cons. So on the plus side, some of the sort of obstacles that people have thrown up to changing and doing more stuff digitally, where they've sort of said in the past, oh no, you know, we have to go and visit a person in their home to do a financial assessment. Now obviously they can't do that, so we're rapidly developing online ways of doing it, which is the sort of stuff we would have liked to have done, but the business has sort of put up blockers in the past, so it's accelerating some of that digital stuff. On the other hand, being a business analyst working in the council, some of our frontline staff are obviously firefighting at the moment, trying to get hold of those subject matter experts, where we would have been running workshops, large workshops in a big room with teams and doing the brown paper mapping and the putting the post-it notes on. And we've had to find new ways of doing that, usually over Microsoft Teams. And I have run some big workshops, but mostly it's trying to break that down into smaller groups of people that I can have individual or small meetings with, and trying to get hold of those key people without, you know, getting them to give up a half a day of their time.
I know from obviously working with you guys the last few years that over the last 3 to 6 months there's been quite a kind of digital transformation project going on anyway, hasn't there, with some of the technologies being rolled out. Has your team been involved in doing any of the planning around that?
Yeah, I worked on the big digital program where we had Deloitte involved in helping us implement. We had a new CRM system, a new content management system for our web stuff. So we're trying to sort of integrate all those bits. The integration layer, Boomi, security, identity management. So business analysis played quite a key part in getting those sort of sprints and the product backlogs and all
superb.
of that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, exciting times. Tolu, if I can come to you, you've obviously been a business analyst. You've trained and coached on it for many years. I mean, in a kind of a brief nutshell, what do you think are the key skills that make a successful business analyst? And then perhaps I'll come back to Christina, who can give us the correct answer from her book. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Tolu. What do you look for when you're coaching and training? What are the skills you're looking for?
So for me, I think one of the most important skills, or the category of skills that I will rate the highest, will be the personal qualities. I'm talking about the communication skills, the ability to work with teams, the ability to influence upwards and downwards. I think beyond any sort of technical skills, those I think are, for me, the most important thing. And then some knowledge of how to use tools and techniques, which you can learn very quickly. But I'll say those personal qualities are really key. Communication skills, influencing, and now more than ever, those skills are absolutely critical in working with distributed teams. So yeah, I'll say those personal qualities.
Thank you. What about the technical side then, Christine? I mean, you're an expert in this field. So what sort of things, what sort of projects typically would a BA get involved with, and thus what skills would be good to see?
Well, I really agree with what Tolu said there, that the interpersonal skills, the communication skills, how we do our role as BAs is absolutely so critical. We need to be able to draw on a wide skill set of different tools available. So that might be things like business process modelling, data modelling, being able to run workshops. But all of those things are really dwarfed in comparison to how we do our role, which is how we build relationships, how we interact with people, how we get people to trust us. So I think that's really important. In terms of the types of projects that BAs get involved in, it's really wide ranging, and some organisations are obviously doing a lot of digital transformation work at the moment, and there's clearly a role for BAs there. And sometimes it's really helpful for BAs to have or to come from a more technical background, so that they've got knowledge of, for example, web content management systems, cybersecurity. But I really talk about business analysis more of a skill set in terms of the core techniques and the curiosity and the willingness to learn and help people deliver the best value for projects. I don't really subscribe to the view that business analysts have to have strong domain knowledge or subject matter knowledge about what they're doing, because a good business analyst can pick up different projects in different areas. Okay, so Nicola, I can see you nodding. I mean, I've kind of excuse me if I'm simplifying it. I don't mean to be offensive, but you know, I've always kind of understood business analysis is kind of change management and planning and deciding to a certain extent what commercially a business, you know, whether it be public or private sector, needs to do. But is that correct? Is there a crossover? I know in some of our smaller clients there is kind of a crossover with project managers. Sometimes in small organisations a PM and a BA is the same person. In other organisations they're separate. Do you want to kind of just touch on that for me a little?
Yeah, I guess I'm sure it varies depending on the organisation. I guess in Hampshire County Council where I work, I'm sitting within the IT department, but we're seen as, or hopefully seen as, a bridge between the technology and the business, where the business is the council department. So they're the subject matter experts. So when it comes to change programs, we're sort of working closely with them, identifying the business requirements, and then working with solution architects in IT to deliver the solutions, but then also working with the business on how they manage the change. So the stakeholder analysis, and that feeds into comms and rollout planning, some of which is handled within the departments, but we would sort of bridge that gap. That's how we tend to work at Hampshire County Council, but it might be different elsewhere. And we work with project managers as well.
Christina, one of the kind of the third element on the poll was kind of big data. I guess as data's all around us, whatever jobs we do these days, isn't it? I mean, how much have you seen the change in terms of the impact of data and what BAs have to kind of deal with in that regard?
I think there can be a lot of fear around data and data modelling from business analysts, but it is increasingly becoming part of the role. Again, it depends on the size of the organisation, because larger organisations might have specific teams for data modelling and data analysis, but smaller organisations might now expect that to be part of the BA role. And I think it's something that as BAs we can't hide from. We need to make sure that we've got good skills in those areas so we can offer that value to our organisations.
Excellent. Trevor, if I can come to you, kind of patiently sat there waiting. From your perspective as an apprenticeship lead, what's the strategy? There'll be plenty of employers on the call who perhaps have never implemented an apprenticeship program. What do you think is the advice that you could give in terms of setting an apprenticeship program up within an organisation, and indeed how you go about engaging stakeholders such as Nicola to ensure that the programs are successful?
Sure. I think finding a good provider is top of the list, and then it's the partnership arrangement with that provider. What really works well for us is the fact that Just IT is embedded within the organisation. The head office up in Winchester. Regular visits, learning about us, learning about the culture, understanding us, and spending that time to see how best to support us with some of the apprenticeship solutions that are on offer. And I think, especially with the IS Business Analyst, that's the key to the setup of this program. It took a little bit of investment in time. But I think that was worth it, because there was a really in-depth analysis of each applicant to make sure that this was the right program for them, that it was going to give them the right skills, that any prior learning that they had was taken into account. And I think that's that's really important for us. I think the other thing is that certainly in local authority, maybe different elsewhere, it's about the having patience, really being patient with this stuff and working it through. And I think that's some of the key things. And I just have to say quickly as well, Richard, is that I'm one of the benefactors of the work that Nikki's been doing. Certainly over the last 10 years, I'm no IT specialist, but I'm certainly sat here with some of the best tech and software that I've ever seen, not just in Hampshire County Council, but in any local authority. And I think the whole COVID situation, we was literally able to leave the office and move online and be up and running the next day overnight because of all the digital transformation work that's been going on over the last 10 years.
That's fantastic. Well, there's a lovely link back to you, Nicola. So Trevor's explained how he kind of his thought process in terms of engaging internally within the council and which programs are appropriate, I guess, for the business. How did you decide, not so much for yourself, because it's obviously lovely that you're doing it, but how did you decide which of your team members? Presumably you couldn't put everybody on the program, so how did you go about determining that?
So in my team we had a number of contractors and permanent staff and some fixed term contractors. So obviously the sort of day rate contractors couldn't go on the apprenticeship, so it was amongst our sort of permanent staff and newer fixed term contractors we were sort of considering. And some of the new guys I really wanted to get onto the apprenticeship, so some of them had come in from different walks of life sort of thing, so not IT business analysis necessarily. So we had a few new guys. So one was like formerly sort of electronic engineer, and another guy had been sort of done a mixture of PM and BA, and someone who'd worked on the sprints but not done some of the other stuff. So it was sort of really wanting to get them all sort of consistent. And we had another 3 that had been with us for 2 or 3 years, but so people I thought would gain the most out of getting that consistency and getting the experience across the board. But then
Sorry, I was going to say, have you seen you're a reasonable way through the program now as a team, have you seen impacts? And obviously Trevor's just given praise in terms of the digital transformation project, but have you seen in your own individuals a kind of a step change in terms of their productivity and performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's made us focus on getting that broad range of skills across everybody, because the apprenticeship covers a wide range of business and analysis skills, and we have to be able to evidence that. So we're trying to do more shadowing and getting people to try out different things, process modelling techniques, requirements gathering. So we would probably, with our new people, just start them off on some small amounts of requirements gathering, and they may not get a chance to get this wide range of experience quickly. So I think that's really helped accelerate things. One of our new guys has been working on the Microsoft Teams project, which we were supposed to be rolling out gradually, but suddenly had to be rolled out overnight to everybody who had a hybrid. And so we've had to be flexible. I think it's helped us move quickly.
Can I pick up on something there, Richard?
Yeah, please do, Christina. Thank you.
Interested to see whether Trevor and Nicola would agree with me, but there's no good time to implement an apprenticeship scheme. You just have to decide to do it and do it. And I think employers might be thinking, oh, COVID, we're all working from home, now's a bad time. There's never a good time. You just have to make the commitment and get on with it.
Well, thank you for that link. So I was going to go back to Tolu in terms of how have you found it going from a mixture of kind of remote delivery and classroom sessions to delivering it all online? Has it impacted in terms of the engagement levels from the people on the program and your ability to get the message over, Tolu?
Yeah, that was a very interesting shift. I mean, I had been delivering virtual classes on, tools like GoToWebinar, Zoom, and MS Teams for a while, but in short bursts rather than long days. So the transition was quite an interesting one. And I remember, I think one of the first classes I did a full day virtual was actually with one of Nicola's teams. I'd already sort of booked the trip over to Winchester, ready to get into a classroom, and it actually do it at a do it on Teams. That was interesting. From my perspective, it didn't really change much, but the learners having to adapt to sitting in front of a computer screen for hours on end when they're not normally used to took a little bit of getting used to, but we found ways to get the engagement. Things like making sure I could use the whiteboard and do the same things I would normally do in a classroom, still doing it virtually really helps. Breaking up the days into smaller chunks really
Yeah, I was just
helps.
going to say, is it more bite-sized kind of chunks rather than
Absolutely. The engagement is still the same because we can still see each other, we can still talk to each other, we can still see the exercises, can still give them individual feedback. So yeah, it's been a transition, but it's been a really good one, and so far it's been amazing from my perspective, and the
to a
engagement
certain
has been
extent, you
great.
need to be agile to be a BA. So I guess you've just proved that you're agile, Tolu, by changing your working methodology and likewise for your colleagues. I think that 20 minutes has flown by. Thank you to the four of you. I think Christina, I believe you're staying up on screen, and I'm going to hand back to Andrew. I think, Andrew, you're going to introduce a new guest. So thank you, Nicola, Trevor, and Tolu, if you'd be kind enough to go off screen and mute yourself.
Thank you all, and thank you, Richard. Fascinating conversation, and one that I'm sure lots of you online have got thoughts on, views on in your own context. So please do continue to pop into the chat feature any questions that come up. There will be a Q&A shortly. So Christina, thanks for joining us. Can I invite also Alison, Pearce to join us on screen?
Morning. I can't join on screen because I have an issue with my camera.
No problem at all. Welcome.
This is a failing of technology in the current climate. You can't actually take it into the office to get it fixed.
Oh, bless. Well, thank you ever so much for joining. Christina, we've already introduced yourself. So, Alison, would you just give us an introduction to who you are, the organisation you work for, and then we'll kind of unpack a conversation.
Of course I can. My name is Alison Pearce. I'm the Quality Delivery Manager. I work for British Computer Society, BCS. We assess all of the current digital apprenticeship standards, and I manage the team of assessors and the quality control of all those assessments for all of the standards for all of the assessors. Fantastic. In a nutshell.
Thank you. And we're delighted to have you. We work very closely with BCS, and so yeah, thank you for your time today. So the next bit that we've put into the agenda, I think it's an interesting topic. The world of digital transformation. We've identified COVID's impacted that, having changes to that. The skill sets that are required. We've kind of touched on that lightly. What I now want to draw us to is the BA apprenticeship in a little bit more detail. And so if you can go back a slide to the growth, that's fantastic. So as you can see here, that there has been a growth of this program. And Christina, I'm going to bring you in first, if I may, just to share a little bit of insight, I guess, from your position as chair of that Trailblazer group, from kind of start almost. And then Alison, I'm going to come to you for the present, and then I'll get you both to comment on the future, if I may. So Christina, over to you to share a bit about that kind of birthing of the apprenticeship, why it was needed. Thank you.
So I think it was needed, and the reason that I realised it was needed because I introduced a project management apprenticeship scheme into my organisation, and then looked around for the business analysis equivalent, and it didn't exist. So that was back in 2014 when we started having discussions through the BA Manager Forum, a network of BA leaders in the UK, to start to define what that standard should look like. And it was really good timing because the government was looking at a number of different digital apprenticeship standards at that time, and the business analysis apprenticeship IS, which stands for Information Systems Business Analysis, fit well into that digital route. So we got a group of employers together, and after a lot of logical debate, as you might expect for a group of senior BAs, we came up with the core competencies of the BA role. And that was quite tricky because business analysis can look different between one organisation and another. That often depends on the size of the organisation and what other roles exist. So, for example, if there are teams of testers or business architects within an organisation, those things will affect the expectations of the BA role. But we're very lucky to have the BCS and other professional bodies, including the IIBA, who champion the BA role, and in particular professional certifications. And the BA apprenticeship is very well aligned to the BCS International Diploma in Business Analysis. And in fact, many apprentices study modules towards the diploma as part of their learning and development off the job time. So the standard is part of the digital route that I mentioned, and all of those standards are now up for review.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And I know lots of people, as you can see on the graph, have benefited from the time and effort of you and your colleagues. I know when we spoke before, it's a lot of energy that goes into bringing these to life, and you know, lots of people who are on this are probably benefiting or will benefit in the future. So thank you. Alison, if I may come across to you and kind of get your thoughts on the present position. It looks in a good and growing place. What's your thoughts on that?
No, it is definitely growing. And I think, you know, I mean, I've worked commercially and I've come sort of back into the sector, and I've always identified that, you know, this is one of the really underappreciated roles. And I think, you know, in the current climate and as things are developing technologically in the sector, I think it's becoming more and more important. And we're seeing more people doing it as a dedicated role. And we're seeing a really interesting increase in the number of people coming onto the standard. You know, when it was first introduced, it was incredibly slow. You know, then it sort of went, I think in 2018 we had 170. Then we had another 482 through apprentices through last year, and so far to the current date, and I pulled the stats for you this morning, we've actually had 386 apprentices through so far this year. And we have a forecast to probably double what we did last year. So we are seeing it increase sort of exponentially, especially in the current climate. We're getting more enrolments.
Yeah, interesting. And do you kind of see one or a couple of things as being the key drivers for that growth? Have you got any thoughts on that?
I think the recognition for the role as well. Whenever a new standard is introduced, if you like, generically, on the whole, they take a while for people to appreciate that they're there and they're up and running. But I think on this one, with the breadth and depth of experience of people having the roles, it's a natural thing for them to follow the apprenticeship through, because on a lot of apprenticeship programs, they struggle to generate evidence to meet the requirements, but this has been so well written that, you know, the BA role, regardless of what change they're managing or where they're working, they've got so much opportunity to generate the evidence for that, and there's the flexibility in the standard to do it. So, you know, I know that we'll see a larger increase next year, and we have, you know, forecast of that large increase coming through.
Fantastic, good stuff. And Christina, I know when we spoke before, we were talking about, you mentioned people almost falling into a BA role or kind of getting to it later in their career. They'd start in one route. Do you just kind of unpack that a little bit in the context of Alison's comments there, please?
Yeah, so I think most BAs at some point in our career, we used to be something else. We all started off in different roles, and it can't be a valid career path for a recognised profession to bimble around in IT for a few years, do a few different roles, eventually discover business analysis and realise that that's your passion. I really wanted to protect future generations of business analysts from having to do that very circuitous route into business analysis, and for there to be a clear path that they can take into the role, and that be something that they're aiming for through their potentially studies earlier in their life, A-levels and degree, and really know that business analysis is a career option for them.
Fascinating. Thank you,
Could
Christina.
I just add on to that one,
yeah,
Andrew?
please.
Just a moment. I mean, sort of going on from what Christina said, interestingly, on the stats again, initially, most of our apprentices were over the age of 25. So
Yeah.
you're talking pretty much 100%. Then we sort of dropped to, you know, 30% were under 25. And we're actually seeing it balancing out. We're actually
Yeah.
seeing more under 25s now going onto the apprenticeship program because it's a natural route for them. So that appears to be working, Christina.
That's good news. And I think there's a corporate and social responsibility element there that organisations are interested in, both the kind of financial benefits of employing apprentices and using the Levy funding to fund the training, but also to having people at earlier parts in their careers, whether that's a career change or people who are new to the job market, and balancing that alongside more senior BAs in the team makes for a more cost-effective business analysis service within organisations.
Right, yeah, great. And I think just your comments there, Alison, with regards to that profile. I was in a meeting a couple of days ago, and that's exactly kind of the profile that we were seeing internally. And there does seem to be increasing a broader appetite that's out in the marketplace. And you know, I know that anyone on the conversation here who wants to pick up with a further discussion about any of those age groups, there's a solution out there for that wider population. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Alison, Christina, I want to thank you for your input there. Really insightful. And if you can stay on, I know that we'll come to the chat questions in a moment. So it might be that we call upon your guidance there as well. So thank you ever so much.
No problem.
Thank you. And so moving on to the BCS Business Analyst career map. One of the things as we've talked about is we work very closely with BCS, and as you'll see, the different Sophia Plus levels, if you're familiar with these, from early career to senior management down the left-hand side. And what we've done, and what BCS have done, and we've overlaid our program on top of it, is try to put in there so everyone can see where the sweet spot is really for the program that we deliver within the BA context. Again, sharing this within the context of this conversation, that digital transformation is happening. COVID is proving to be a bit of a kicker for this, and actually there is going to be an increasing need for that skill set, as Lee came to earlier. And so this piece here in the shaded blue is where our apprenticeship program sits. So you'll see it covers both foundation and practitioner levels. And we start, and if you'd like to move on to the next, Sam, then I will just talk you through that journey of discovery, really, that an individual has who comes on this program, whether they be a new hire into the business or an upskilling at a entry level or a bit more of an established level. And you would start and learn the foundations, so you get access to our material within the foundation level, some online resources. You'd get monthly coaching visits going through, so any learner that comes on the program would have a coach assigned by us to them. And then you move into these different elements, so the business analysis practice, the modeling business processes, requirements engineering, and then there's a consolidation piece before what we do is prepare the individual learner for the gateway and the endpoint assessment. And we can talk more about that with individuals if interested at a later date, but there is an endpoint gateway which we take the learner through, where they are providing evidence really that they're meeting what's called the Apprenticeship Standard. So that's kind of a job spec of what's required for a entry early to established BA, and that's what we're looking at 3 areas, and that's what the endpoint awarding body is. So BCS would be looking for skills, knowledge, and behaviours. Interestingly, Tolu, you mentioned the importance, and a few of you actually, Christina as well, of the soft skills, so the communication, interpersonal skills, and very much those sit in the behavioural aspects and are checked off against that standard at that gate point. So the skills being the on-the-job experience, so it's important there's exposure at the right level, and the knowledge being what we impart, our trainers, so Tolu, who you've heard from today, imparts through the training sessions, but also our virtual learning environment is there to support. So That is, if you could just move on to the next slide. You've got the final bit here, and I think the key bit here is that we just put in a bit of agile. So acknowledging that people working increasingly in that context, there's a bit of training in there to help bring that to life within that context. And then finally, the opportunity to do the international diploma in business analysis. That's the learner journey. You'll see it's 18 months. We're all unique in our learning styles, and we support individuals at every point in or every style of learning. And we also are very mindful that we've all got different personal, professional lives, and sometimes we need to provide some flex and support to support that. And so that's very much part of our support package for every learner that's on program. Thank you very much for that, Sam. If you can just move on to the next slide, Sam, we're going to kick off another poll. And I guess what you've heard here is the theme through from digital transformation through to skill sets required through to our own program. And be just really interested to hear, would you hire a BA apprentice in the next month? Is that something that's on your agenda? Yes, no, unsure? And Sam, I'll let you reflect on the results that come through.
Thanks, Andrew. So thank you for everybody who is voting on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm going to give that 5 more seconds, close the poll and share those results with you. So that's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and I'll share those on screen. So more than half of our audience, at 55%, are currently unsure. 25% were a firm yes, and 20% shared that no, they wouldn't hire a BA apprentice in the next 6 months. Great,
thank you, Sam. Yeah, great to have that, and thanks for sharing. And look, this, there's always an opportunity for conversation ongoing. I think we are in an interesting position in an ever-evolving world, and as the next months evolve, we'll probably get more certainty. Certainly, the clients I'm working with are starting to map out what that looks like. So that's probably a true reflection of our wider conversations that we're having. So thank you for sharing all that have contributed. I'm now going to hand over to Richard, and just to appreciate, some of you have probably put in some questions into the chat feature, so we want to give a chance for those. So back to you, Richard.
Thank you very much. Panelists, feel free to either put your cameras back on or not, as you see fit. But I'll perhaps go to Christina and Nicola. Obviously, you are both very passionate about apprenticeships. Christina, from having created it in the first place, and Nicola being one, and obviously having a team on it. Perhaps a couple of minutes each on the value that an apprentice can add into an organisation, both in terms of the skill set. Please, Christina, do you want to kind of start with that one?
I think I'll probably start with a couple of less obvious benefits of having a BA apprentice. So one of the things that so I have a couple of BA apprentices in my team. It also provides an opportunity for more senior BAs to develop their skills in, for example, coaching and mentoring, brushing up on techniques that they haven't used for a long time because the apprentices are keen to use them. So that it has benefits to the wider business analysis team, not just to the apprentices who are going through the apprentice training. And the other one, which I mentioned before, around that corporate and social responsibility, I think it's so important for organisations, particularly in this current climate, to be thinking about how they can help their local communities, and that's providing opportunities for people to do career change into business analysis, and for young people to start their career in business analysis. So those, I think, are 2 real benefits for organisations.
I mean, I'm so pleased you raised the benefits for staff, because clearly it enables you to do perhaps more strategic things at the pay grade, rather than necessarily the more junior things you might have done when you first started your career. So thank you for sharing that. I totally endorse that. Nicola, I mean, we touched a little bit in terms of your team and the impact. So again, do you want to answer the same question for me, please?
Yeah, so I'd agree with Christina that it does benefit the team as a whole, and there are some more experienced BAs in our team who aren't on the apprenticeship, but our apprentices are helping to improve the standards of the team as a whole. Also, I think I'm really keen on growing our own BAs in the council. We've sort of had fluctuating times of cutbacks and reducing of teams, and then we've ended up having loads of contractors and not many permanent staff, and have sort of being able to do the apprenticeship is bringing on new people, skilling them up, growing our own. Hopefully they'll stay with us. We don't have to spend as much money on contractors, so it's financially beneficial, and we get that sort of consistency and quality. So throughout a project, a BA can stay on that project through to implementation, so we don't have people coming and going. I think it's better for the business as a whole.
Are you both able to share, and Trevor, now if you kind of come back on screen, so I want to ask you a different question in a second, but Christina, Nicola, do you want to share for the audience perhaps a couple of very specific examples, perhaps one each, of projects that your apprentices have worked on, just to give the audience a feel for the types of things they might do? Christina, do you want to take that one first?
Well, one of the things that our apprentices are working on, something that we just never get time for as a BA practice, is just about improving some of our internal processes within the IT service that we sit within. So as well as working on some of our external projects for business customers across the organisation, we're also able to use the capacity that the apprentices have given us to be able to do some process improvement work, some process mapping work, and improve the IT service as a whole. Those are the things that it's really difficult to prioritise against urgent projects.
And you forget actually processes need to be updated. I mean, let's face it, all of us are frantically updating our processes as we speak, aren't we, with the COVID situation? So that's a really, really good, great example. Thank you. Nicola, is there one that you'd like to share?
So one example is a BA who's moved into the BA role from other parts of the business, so getting up that experience. She's now working with children's services, looking at implementing their new children's social care system. We've got another more experienced BA on that one as well, doing the process modelling. So the apprentice is shadowing her a bit and doing some of the requirements gathering around interfaces required. So they're sort of working together, but doing separate pieces of work as well. So it's a good opportunity to shadow as well as producing deliverables that are going to be really useful for that project.
Fantastic. Trevor, Andrew shared this particular apprenticeship program is typically 18 months in length, and I want to kind of ask you kind of a question about how you keep people engaged on a program of that kind of length, which is obviously very different from going on a short course. But also, if I can ally to that, the interesting stats, which I hadn't realised, that Alison shared, that whereas perhaps before it might be an older age force that was being upskilled, now we're seeing a mixture of brand new people, if you like, new hires into an organisation. I'm sure there are different challenges for you as an apprenticeship manager dealing with a new hire as opposed to upskilling an existing member of staff. So can you talk about that, but also talk about how you engage people for the length of the programme?
Yeah, I think the key thing for us is the work that goes on up front, Richard. So the before staff go on to programme, they know exactly what it entails, the length, what sessions look like, the 20% of the job learning, and then it's making sure that as they negotiate their way through the programme, that they have real life projects that support that skills development programme that they're on. So it's something that really infuses them. But it's making sure that we get the right people on the right programme. Does that kind of answer it, Richard?
So I mean, I think one of the things that you're very keen on is separate, if I can say, line manager and separate learner, if I can call your colleagues that, programs, so that the managers buy in the first place and then the learners buy in separately. Is that the process you like to follow? Yeah,
I mean, the manager buy-in is so important for us, and so investing that time speaking with the managers is really important, so they know exactly what their member of staff is getting into, what the support is that they need to provide. Doing that, understanding what some of the projects will be throughout the time that they're on programme. That's a really, really important element for us. But also, I think it's that whole piece where it's the ripple effect across the organisation, and if the manager has a good experience, then that message gets out across the organisation, and more people want to go and join apprenticeship programs. So that's why we're always saying that we invest as much time, and ask the providers to invest as much time in the managers as they do into the apprentices as well. So we do a kind of a twofold briefings and information events for managers, as well as having separate ones for learners as well, apprentices as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think I always say the best programs are the ones where the manager, the learner, and the training provider are kind of all on the same page. Christina, I don't know how, you know, with your own apprentices, do you have to touch point with them fairly regularly? I mean, how do you keep them engaged to ensure that they kind of stick with the program? And I guess it's about seeing value in your business as well.
Yeah, I think it's about making clear that it is their apprenticeship, and they're the ones that need to make sure they keep on top of their portfolio and their learning, and that the organisation is very supportive of them doing that. So sometimes they will need to say, sorry, I can't make that project commitment because I also have the commitments around my apprenticeship. So it's about making sure that that's an open conversation within the organisation. And something that
asking, were your two apprentices new hires, or were they existing members of staff?
One already worked elsewhere within the organisation, and one was new to the organisation. So we've got kind of both advantages and challenges with both of those things.
So back to my question, perhaps to Trevor, that same to you then. Is there a slightly different approach you have to take with the new hire to the organisation as opposed to somebody you're upskilling who's already part of the company? Just to share with the audience, perhaps might not have engaged. Go ahead, Trevor.
When you're recruiting people, when you're recruiting someone, it's clearly defined what they're getting into, whether they're going on to the apprenticeship, what that might look like. You know, it's really easy to kind of set the parameters of that from the get-go. Whereas existing staff may there may be some cultural things. You know, there's all sorts of barriers sometimes that you have to overcome where they're used to a certain way of doing things. And we're saying, actually, for the next 12, 18 months, it's going to look a bit different. You're going to be doing this, and a bit like Christina said, is that, you know, they have to own that. You know, we want our staff, our apprentices, to own that and take responsibility for that. But you know, it's not something that we can't overcome with the right information, communication, and support from the providers.
Okay, Nicola, you're I think all of your people were existing that are being upskilled, and obviously you're doing it yourself. So how have you balanced doing the day job with doing the extra responsibility of an apprenticeship?
Yeah, it can be tricky because although we have our resourcing bookings and we've blocked out 20% of everyone's time for the apprenticeship, so they can't be booked full time onto projects. That people naturally want to just react to the project's demands, and if the PM's asking them to get stuff done, they have to deliver these things, and it's so easy to slip into that and not neglect the apprenticeship. And so I'm telling myself and my colleagues on the apprenticeship to block out time, make sure we're doing our portfolios, make sure we're doing the online training, or we've blocked out time obviously for the classroom training, so that's a bit easier because you've got 3 days blocked out, that's it. But yeah, it's having that discipline to block out time. It is difficult because projects will sort of eat up all your time.
Yes, of course. Christina, I'm going to give you the final word. If there was kind of one bit of advice that you would give either an employer thinking about taking a BA apprentice, or indeed there may be people on the call who are in employment who are thinking about doing the apprenticeship, what one kind of pearl of wisdom would you share?
I think I'd probably go back to the point I made earlier, that there's never a good time. Don't wait for the right time. Take the opportunity. Don't worry about the COVID situation. Develop a plan, and you'll, both as individuals and an organisation, you'll get a great deal of benefit from it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all again. I'm going to hand back to Andrew. I think we're just going to
have a couple of closing slides to end the webinar. So back to you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Richard, and all who've been a part of this discussion. Really interesting, so thank you. So moving on to the close here. You know, you've heard from us, you've heard an interesting topical debate. Feel free to contact us following. We'd love to continue this conversation. It's an ever-evolving picture. And as Lee talked about, we provide solutions in the space of apprenticeships, training, or recruitment to suit all your IT needs. So please do reach out to us. If you've got an account manager, please reach out to them or on the contact details shared. We will be circulating these slides afterwards. And as the topic ever evolves, we are focusing in on another event in a month's time. So Sam is going to put up the slide for that. So moving on, we have an NHS specific piece. I know we've got quite a few on the line today from the NHS, various different trusts that either we work with or maybe want to engage with us. So there's a new webinar coming up around the same topic, very much sector specific. Be delighted to have you engage with that. So do look out for that. And that just leaves me to say thank you very much for everyone showing an interest. And we wish you all the very best. Keep well and stay safe. Thank you. Bye.